about to get started. Just a couple quick admin notes. For anybody that's presenting or anybody else, Bianca has a microphone and can deliver a microphone to the back of the room. Or if you guys are coming up to do part of the presentation, grab that microphone from Bianca. Bathrooms are on the other side of this wall. If you need to excuse yourself to use the bathroom, they're very close by. But I don't think we can hear the toilets flush. That's good. All right. So with that, I'm going to step back and turn it over to our board chair.
Good morning, everyone. Good to have you this morning. I'd like to go ahead and recognize some of our special guests that we have here. We have State Representatives Robert Duvall, Kevin Jackson. Good morning. And also from Congressman Brett Gavin's office, Mark Lloyd. Morning, Mark. And from the Kentucky Education and Labor Cabinet, Alice Shear. Alice Shear there. Hey. He is the Kentucky Workforce Innovative Board Executive Director. And Kate Hoagland, the Career Development Office, or Katie, I'm sorry, Katie. And Michael Yoder from the Department of Workforce Development Interim Commissioner. Hello. And a Judge Executive is Philip Baker from Logan County. And Scott Lindsay from Edmonson County.
I don't think okay. Judge Lindsay made it.
And then also we have Garland Gillum, who is a Deputy Judge Executive from Marion County. As a housekeeping note, I would just like to ask everyone that is tuning in online, if you can keep your cameras on if you are voting, we'd appreciate that. And also, since we do have several guests and visitors today, just a reminder that during our voting actions that only our board members need to vote. Thank you.
All right, over to me. Okay. All right. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to see everybody. As you know, we run 6 board meetings a year. Our board members are very familiar with our process, where we in the first part of the year we set our goals. We have 4 strategic goals, and we set goals and key performance indicators, and we present those all throughout the year in a very kind of methodical manner. And then what we do in December is we like to sit back and look back at the year that was. So today we're going to look at 2024, and we're going to deviate from our normal habit of looking at those strategic goals in detail. What we're going to do instead today is really have a lot of different folks from our workforce system come up and present. And so if you look at the agenda, we've got a lot of guest speakers. And every guest speaker has got 3 or 4 minutes, but we want to highlight guest speakers from all the different parts of the workforce system to just talk about their, what they've done or their observations in 2024 and relay, the workforce services that were delivered throughout the South Central region. So that's going to be the board meeting presentation. To complement that, we've put together a Workforce 2024 booklet. This booklet, we did this last year as well, but really this has a lot of the detail. So today might be a little light on detail. This book has lots of detail. It's divided up into 3 sections. The first section is really just storytelling. We tell the story of 12 different individuals. And those 12 different individuals represent a good cross-section of the folks in our region that have barriers. You're going to see folks that were homeless. You're going to see folks with a reentry and recovery background. You're going to see new Americans. You're going to see youth and everything in between. The second section really talks about the programs and services that we offer throughout 2024. And so it's pretty detailed as well. And it touches on a lot of the different activities that we pursued. It's got a summary of our, we're coming up on the end of 3 years of a tornado grant, and it summarizes that. It talks about the work ready boot camps and quite a few other programs and initiatives that we've had throughout the year. And then the final section is just data. We collect a lot of data throughout the year, and way more data than we're mandated. WIOA mandates a certain level of data that has to be collected and a certain, certain performance outcomes, but we go far and beyond in our data collection and in our pursuit of goals beyond what WIOA mandates, because we're trying to hold ourselves to a higher account and a higher delivery of services than what WIOA might say we need to do. So anyway, that's the first complimentary document. And then also up here on the side, just quietly running, is a 12-minute slideshow that also frames our 2024 in pictures and just kind of tells a story through that lens. And so it also would rather you pay attention to the speakers today, but that's also just kind of up there running it. And both these documents, this document and the slideshow are going to end up on our website for later viewing. But Leslie has done our whole team had to work hard to put both these things together, but Leslie led the charge and put both these things together. And so we're very thankful for all the time and effort she put into it, and they turned out fantastic. All right, so with that, we're going to get back to the main show, which is the board meeting, and I will turn it back over to our board chair.
Our first order of business this morning is to approve the October 17th board minutes. Board members should have received and reviewed the minutes already. Are there any comments on the minutes? Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ron. Second by Rebecca. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, then I'm up next with the executive committee updates. On November 26th, the executive committee met and we covered the following agenda items. We reviewed the compensation study. Lori Stump joined us that day and went over the compensation study with us. The study provided comparable wage data, our president and CEO positions, and the next two agenda items are related. John outlined the December timeline for staff evaluations. As you may know, a few years ago, the evaluations were related to when they were hired, but we kind of put those all in December now to make it a little bit more consistent. So we transitioned into discussion then on proposed pay raises for staff. And the executive committee approved a motion to authorize up to a 3% pay raise for employees in 2025. The executive committee then approved dates to hold our board meetings and executive committee meetings for 2025. And then next, John provided a series of financial updates to include the closeout of the tornado grant, receipt of adult and dislocated worker WIOA funds, and a proposal to expand our quality assurance coordinator into a regional role that also covers the Cumberland workforce area. And last, a pursuit of continued funding for the American Navigator role. And the executive committee, we finished up with a preview of today's meeting. And I'll turn it back over to John for more info.
Right along, a couple quick announcements since the last time we met. So first, Isa, will you stand up? Isa just graduated from Western Kentucky bachelor's degree last week, so let's give him a round of applause. He's doing great work for us and going to school. So he just finished his bachelor's and in January begins a master's program. So no rest for the weary. Isa is a very driven individual. Next announcement is that, and this one we just kind of slipped by, but we were just awarded for the third year in a row, the USDOL Hire Vets Platinum Award. This is a program that just recognizes employers that go above and beyond to hire veterans, onboard veterans, and put veteran programming in place to support them in their place of employment. It's open to any and all employer in the United States. There were 838 employers awarded either a gold or platinum award for 2024. There were only two. We were one of two in Kentucky that were awarded. So if you're an employer in here and you want to get onto this, come see me. I can help you do it. It's really not hard to apply. And then from what I could tell, there were one or two workforce boards in the country that earned this distinction. So we've done this 3 years in a row, and we're proud of that achievement. And then lastly, we recently received $120,000 statewide reserve grant to run a cybersecurity program. And really, we wrote it in conjunction with 3 other workforce boards. So it was a cohort of four workforce boards that submitted this application. And because South Central, basically, we wrote it, we kind of spearheaded it. The money is in the project management of us is rolling through us. But the idea behind it is that each workforce area will get $30,000 and be able to fund 5 long-term unemployed women to get trained in cybersecurity and join the workforce. So those are the announcements, and we'll turn it over to Khalid for our financial report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we are presenting the financials through November 30th, 2024, which is the 5th month of our fiscal year. Our fiscal year starts in July. So the first column we have, that's the annual budget. That's what we presented originally. The second column for year-to-date budget for the 5 months straight line allocation. And then the third column F is just for the actual expenses. So we can all see that one of the things I would just share with all that our contracts are cost reimbursements. So we have to incur the cost to collect the funds or book or record the revenue as well. So up to this point, means whatever the dollar amount we spent as of November 30th, we would be able to recoup and cover back from the state contracts. So right now, total year-to-date revenue $1.2 million, $1.298 and $118. That gives us a favorable variance in terms of that, even though we're a little behind in the utilization, but there's no risk in terms of the not collecting the money and what we have booked. We will 100% will collect it. And another piece that's a little bit behind in the revenue booking, because expense-wise, we are behind the way state awards us in pieces. So we want to make sure that we have enough money to cover the first quarter, and then state gives us a contract for next 9 months. So therefore, the strategy we built in last 2 years ago, I want to make sure that we have enough carryovers to at least cover the first quarter of the expenses. We were able to do that as well. So therefore, with the current budget, you would see that we are a little behind in the revenue, but there's no risk because the next 9 months or the contract started in October 1, we'll be able to recoup everything as well. Another piece, the part of the revenue is the tornado grant. That's for the 6 months revenue, not for the whole year. So the contract would be ending in December. So there's 2 months left. The information we had, that's through October. So there's no risk for leaving anything at this point, but we will book November and December revenue once we have the information available. But as I said, there's no risk for missing any amount as of this point. Expenses are the same way as I explained earlier. Our contracts are costing, but when contract, we have to incur the cost to recoup from the state contracts. And the bottom line is break even. There's no deficit, no surplus, because as a government agency, we can't have a surplus. So therefore, we are able to bill everything the way we are incurring cost as of this point. Any question, any concern?
Any questions on the financial report? Do you have a motion to approve?
Make the motion.
Thank you, Michael. Is there a second? I'll second. Thank you, Teresa. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Holly.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so this is normally where we, in our normal meeting, really turn to the strategic goals, and this is where we're deviating a little bit. So, again, what we're about to do for the rest of this meeting is really line up a lot of different guest speakers. But I want to set this conversation up with a series of slides. Hopefully, these animations work pretty well. But I just want to do a primer and or refresher for those of you that aren't familiar with what is the public workforce system. So let me begin with the workforce board. There in the middle. You know, we are a entity that's created and mandated by law. And our particular workforce board serves 10 county region in Kentucky. We have 23-person board member. And we have oversight by our local judge executives. Kind of above the board, you see some folks that we interact with quite frequently. So I've mentioned the 10 local elected officials. And so, they have oversight of our budget. They appoint our board members. They select our fiscal agent, and they are very involved in our strategic planning effort. We also work hand in hand with the Kentucky Education and Labor Cabinet and the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board. All those federal dollars flow through the cabinet to us, and so we've got to have that relationship, on the money side, and then on the federal compliance side and programmatic compliance. And then, really in this last year, we've started to become more and more engaged with the Kentucky General Assembly, because they've allocated money for youth programming. And so, although there's not a dotted line on there yet. I mean, we're very much engaged with the Kentucky General Assembly on that piece of funding that they provide. Let's build one. Okay. When you get right down to in the public workforce system, there's 4 title partners. There's all the way to the left, you have WIO Title I, that's career team. So this is the organization that works with folks that have barriers. And so if they have barriers and they qualify for barriers, career team are the folks that will identify that and can subsidize training or subsidize internships. Right there to the right, the Kentucky Career Center, the Career Development Office. They do what's called Wagner Pizer services. I describe that as very transactional assistance to job seekers. So job seeker comes into the Career Center and they need help looking for a job. They need help with putting a resume together. They need interview assistance. It's the Career Development Office staff that are going to assist them. And it's generally very transactional. Somebody comes in, and then we help them, and then we send them on their way. Maybe they come back, maybe they don't, but it's not a case management scenario where you're staying connected with that person for a long period of time. One more to the right, you've got Kentucky Adult Education. They're the Title II partner. We work hand in hand with Kentucky Adult Ed. Dr. Joda Johnson leads. She's one of the 2 adult eds that are covering our 10-county region, and she's on our board. And I don't think there's a week that goes by that we're not in some kind of conversation with her or her team. And then all the way to the right, you've got the Office of Vocational Rehab. And those folks, let's build one, Brian. This gets pretty wordy. Office of Vocational Rehab, they're there to help folks that have, some level of, disability or something like that. They help them overcome that and get back into the workforce. So those are the 4 title partners. Let's go. And then on top of it, you've got a one-stop operator. That's Frank Garabato in the Career Center. He's the guy that's trying to manage all the relationships between partners and trying to ensure that there's good customer service happening inside the Career Center. Let's go forward one. All right. And then, of course, because of our clientele, many of our clientele have barriers. And a lot of those barriers some of the barriers have to be addressed before we can work with them. And so we've got to have a relationship with many, many partners across our community. And this is just a short list of partners that we try to have relationships with, because oftentimes if somebody has, a housing issue or transportation, those got to get met before we can put them to work. And so we want to have the relationships in place to hand clients back and forth. All right, let's keep going. And our 2 customers are job seekers and employers. Those are our main 2 customers. That all the title partners, our customers are job seekers and employers, and we're here to serve all customers, all job seekers, but we all have funding to really focus on those that have the barriers, whether it's needing a GED, overcoming disability, or some other barrier. And so the end game, the ultimate goal is, can we make the right match? Can we get our customers taken care of and get them into gainful employment? All right. Okay, so why do I say all that? And these stars kind of figured out, because what we're going to do today is, anywhere you see a star, there's going to be somebody that's presenting or talking and representing that part of the public workforce system and presenting to you today. So that's why I went through that whole shebang. Any questions about this very kind of cartoonish, simplified version of what is the public work order. Okay, all right. My work
That's
here is
about
done.
as simple as we can ever make it. You're welcome.
Okay, all right, so what I'm presenting to you here is a financial overview. And so, WIOA is the main, is our main source of revenue. But what we've done, if you look at where we are today, we have about 10 other sources of revenue that we've coupled with that. And you can see all the different sources pieced together there. Let's build one. And at the bottom, I in September, I went before all the judge executives and presented our budget, and they approved the budget, which is a formality that has to happen each year. So my number is a little different than what Holla presented, but when you add all that up, roughly for the time period of July 1 of 2024 through June of next year, there's about $4 million that we're managing in some sort of fashion. There on the bottom left, just as a point of reference to you, if we go back 5 years, we were managing 2 sources of funding. And that was WIOA, and we were going after small amounts of statewide reserve dollars. Fast forward to today, 11 sources of funding. I mean, so we've been really since about 2022 have been hyper-focused on expanding our relationships, building partnerships, going after contracts, grants, generating our own revenue. It's all the above because we, as I've bemoaned all the time, there's 10 workforce boards in the state, and we're number 9 in the level of funding. We see it just a little under 1.5 million. If we had to live off that alone, we couldn't do 5% of what you're going to see today, or 5% of what you see in this book. It just wouldn't happen. So we've got to be aggressive, we've got to be innovative, and we've got to be entrepreneurial, and we've got to go after every dollar we can. And we have, and we're going to continue to do that. So a couple other points there. So our tornado funding, which has been really a boon, we've had it for 3 years. It comes to a conclusion here in a couple of weeks. We've been very, between myself and Hollid and Matt and career team and career team corporate, Dr. Robert Boone, we've been really judicious in, trying to use up all that tornado, conserve our WIOA funding. We've used very little of WIOA through the first 5 months of the year. But once that tornado funding goes away, then, we'll really start getting after the spending of the WIOA. And that accounts for some of that the variance that Hollid was mentioning, where we're a little bit behind in spending. That's the WIOA. But we've done that on purpose so that we can manage our funds smartly. I do have a concern, today we've got 2 refugee grants, and they're pretty sizable. And with the incoming administration, there is a lot of unknowns on what's going to happen with refugee funding. The refugees that we're working with have come here legally. They have work authorization. And these 2 grants are really meant to help anybody that's a refugee with less than 5 years either get skilled and get into the workforce, or one of the grants is an incumbent worker grant. So if they're already in the workforce, get them upskilled. We don't know if the new administration is going to continue that type of funding or not. And so those are question marks that we've got today, and we'll probably know something here in the next 4 to 6 weeks of what that might look like. And so, there's already meetings and contingencies and talking to folks about, how this might play out. All right, and then just kind of in the works, and this has already been mentioned, we've got Anna's position is subsidized or funded by the city of Bowling Green and Warren County Fiscal Court. She is funded through June, but we are on the docket to speak to both the fiscal court and the Bowling Green City Commission about, getting her put into their budget for beyond June. So we've got those meetings coming up. I'm in negotiation right now with EKSEP. EKSEP is the workforce board in Eastern Kentucky, and they have a grant. They have a grant that funds what's called a job entry and retention support specialist. And basically, this is a person that moves in and out of recovery centers and assist folks who are usually around the 6-month mark in recovery, ready to go back into the workforce. It's meeting with them, seeing if they need anything, and then helping them get connected into employment. And so what they've offered to do is they've offered to fund a position in South Central. So we really wouldn't see any money from it, but we would get the benefit of having a staff member, and that staff member would have access to about $50,000 a year for supportive services. And so what will be unique about this is they've asked that this position actually be kind of baked into career team and report to Matt Bacon, the executive director. So that's not a signed done deal yet, but it probably will be by the end of the week. And then lastly, there's a negotiation going on with the Cumberland's Workforce Board. They do not have a Jessica Calvert, who is our quality assurance person who does phenomenal work. And they need somebody. And so, and folks that have that level of expertise are hard to find. So they've approached us about sharing her services. So we are negotiating, making Jessica a regional quality assurance coordinator and helping them with quality assurance and quality control of all the WIOA compliance and spending that goes on. So if we do that contract, it'd probably be about $55,000 a year, in which would more than pay for her position, pay for travel, pay for some other indirect expenses associated with the position. So really, we're just waiting on the Cumberlands to go through a formal approval process. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, lastly, this is just a recap from October. We have to get audited every year by an external agency. Last year, Taylor Polson and Company conducted our audit. It was the first year that they did it, but you can see the summary of the audit. No significant deficiencies, no instances of non-material compliance. We basically had an unmodified clean audit, which I think is our 4th or 5th year in a row, which is what we wanted. Every year that goes by and we add a new funding source and we bring in new things, I get a little bit nervous when it comes audit time, just to, are we doing everything right? Are we accounting for all these? We're rating in and weaving together these funds that we're doing it correctly, but we came out with a clean audit. We're happy for that. Okay. Brian.
Okay, welcome. Hello, everybody. Let me just make a quick housekeeping note. Did anybody not get a chance to sign in? I don't know if it made it back over there. Did you guys get a chance to? Okay, we get that over to you. So again, good morning. I'm Brian Becker. I'm the Vice President of Programs and Operations and Programs here. And John and I are very excited about this December meeting because it is our giant show and tell, but we also aim to do the least amount of talking. So I'm particularly excited about that. So once I get done with this part, we'll have many more dynamic speakers coming out. But just to remind everybody, when we talk about the public workforce system in the South Central region, we are talking about what we call the Brad Barren River Area Development District. We have the coolest bat signal in workforce, I have to say. And so just to show you the scale of what's going on here, our total reach, this is in these booklets, our annual report that we have at your fingertips there. And those of you joined by Zoom, like John said, we'll have it online soon enough too. But we made a similar graphic to this last year, and it really does show the amount of people that we engage. And we count an engagement anytime we're getting in front of somebody, groups or individual. And so we kind of break out a little bit more detail how those engagements are happening, but kind of going through the wheel there, the 7,600 at the top with the Kentucky Career Center, that is the walk-in traffic coming to our Bowling Green Career Center that happens not even in a 12-month period. So we grab these numbers about a few days before Thanksgiving. To be able to have a deadline to get this to the printer for our report. But you can see the breakout out of that 7,600 is still about 4,400 people coming for unemployment insurance claims and reasons. Now we might have hooked them and turned them into a job seeker, but some people are already reemployed by the time they're still seeking services for that unemployment insurance matter that still needs to get resolved. But we did have over 2,000 that did get career services and about 800 that got some basic assist. Out of that traffic, over 600 folks got referred to the actual WIOA career team, something that could give them some financial support and help besides just job placement assistance. And you can see out of that, about half got enrolled this year because of the amount of funding that we had available to support them. The New Americans, we served several more, about 1,000 more this year. We did get not only continuity on our New American Workforce Navigator position, but acquired other grants from the beginning of this past year to spring. And we still get, opportunities for more grants. As John said, some of those sources are up in question, but you can see about 1,000 of those folks got career services, and a bunch of folks, more than 1,000, attended a presentation. And again, as John mentioned, there's detail about how we engaged that audience in the booklet. About 2,200 people that we're tracking came to hiring events. About 2,200 people this year came to hiring events, right? So, and we did a bunch, and we'll break that out in a little bit too, but you can see there between Career Center hosted hiring events, and that had happened from multi-employer events to just one-offs, where an employer is invited to come in. And those happen free of charge. High school senior hiring events, and then other events. We do even Talent Tuesdays, where we travel to the other counties and try to make it so people don't have to come to Bowling Green for job fairs. We did have a military-based, Fort Campbell-based position for about the first half of the year that also engaged over 1,200 people outside of the region. And then just other things that we have going on. We continue to have a really strong outreach and engagement strategy with full-time dedicated staff. Miss Brittany over here along the wall that is involved with our Justice Involved population. And then Miss Shannon Gotke sitting next to her was traveling to our access points. Those are specific sites we have accredited where we can sort of have as many career centers. But her role transitioned, and now she's engaging high school students and recent high school grads exclusively. So all of that, except for the Career Center traffic that's harder to see the visibility of, we try to track referrals to companies, and you can see that activity generated about over 8,000 referrals to our South Central Kentucky businesses. And this is shared impact and shared results here. I do want to break out just between what the board oversees and manages, because it is a group effort. We had kind of our staff involved with about 9,700 of those 17,000 people. So mostly the ones, that don't come in walking into the Career Center. And I'm going to do something here real quick and kind of go TikTok style. If those of you that work for the board or career team would stand up, I'm holding this so people at home can see, but if you guys would stand up and then let the room see who you are. This is our career team and workforce board staff. And so many of them will be talking here today. Let's give them a round. So we're going to be showing a graphic similar to this as other people come up and speak. And I did want to also mention with our business, John mentioned we have 2 customers. So that was showing our job seekers or people we want to be job seekers. This is the business community. So we had some data. Again, this is all broken out in the booklet, but I'm going to toss it over to Bianca and Jake as our business service reps to kind of show a little bit about this too.
Good morning, everybody. Appreciate that. Thank you all for your attendance. Really pleased to be here this morning. My name is Jake Brown. I'm a business service representative along with my partner, Bianca Wilson. And we do business services. And like John mentioned earlier, we are responsible for trying to connect employers to job seekers. That's our primary goal. One of the ways that we do that is through hiring events. So I won't read any of these numbers up here, but these numbers tell a story. There's a narrative behind these. And so I wanted to talk about the why this morning, the how of how we accomplished that. So initially, when Bianca and I got to the role, we really didn't have a full set of calendar events that we did for our hiring events. We kind of just played it by ear and did the best we could month by month. But when we got to the role, we decided that we were going to do intentional targeted partnerships that really enhance the numbers that you see behind us. And I want to tell you a little bit about that this morning. So in all of our 10 counties, there are individuals who do great work locally in those counties. Bianca and I don't know more about the 10 counties than some of these people, especially some of you in the room that come from these different counties. So we decided to do intentional targeted partnerships with those individuals, which allowed us to really enhance our numbers. With these partnerships, we now have a facility that these individuals can go to that is well known. We're able to market better with those individuals. A lot of these folks, like in Butler County, for example, we go to the adult ed facility. Many of those individuals, we've already developed a pipeline of individuals who need to come to our job fairs. So like I said, those are the intentional targeted partnerships that we developed through our 10 counties that have really enhanced our job fair numbers and really created some success. Second of all, we really try to do our best to mark it out for the 12 months that we have. So like I said, we used to just play it by ear. We did our best month by month. But in February, if many of you come to that board meeting, we always share with you our calendar of events throughout the whole year. This gives us a chance to work with businesses to help them plan alongside us. And so we've really enhanced the number of companies that have come, and it's been better for the job seeker. But ultimately, we do all of this, and you see these numbers back here, but the narrative included, all of that is for the job seeker. Our goal, ultimately, through the job fairs, through the events that we do, through the traveling that we do to all of the 10 counties, is all for helping connect a job seeker to a sustainable, long-term, valuable career. And that enhances their quality of life in many ways that are even, we're unable to even speak of. And it's been amazing. So you see the numbers back there, and Bianca and I are happy to answer any questions after the meeting about those events. And shameless plug, if you're a company and you haven't signed up for our distribution list to be a part of those job fairs, we'd love to make that happen. So talk to us afterward, and appreciate your time. Thank you.
Great. So you can see tremendous hard work. I remember we came out of the December meeting, for those of you guys that came last year that were part of our board or were guests. John and I, we in the office, we're like, how are we going to top 2023? We actually engaged more people this year. So about 2,000 more people were engaged that we were tracking than what we did last year. So now, and this doesn't even include our marketing and outreach. So you'll hear a little bit about that, but we engage a lot of people on social media as well. But now we're going to let you guys hear from somebody we normally never put in front of you. And so it's long overdue. Miss Jessica Calvert, our quality control coordinator, has a very important role, and we're going to let her talk a little bit about that and what's happened this year.
All right. Good morning. We've made significant progress throughout this year with compliance and our performance in our WIOA program. Going to go over a little bit about what I do behind the scenes, usually in front of a screen, to make sure that we are reaching these goals and all the boxes are checked so we can make sure that the state's happy, the labor cabinet's happy, and it makes our jobs a lot easier, and we can focus on what we need to be focusing on, which are the individuals that need our support. So a little bit of overview. I usually review all the workforce cases with the WIOA program at least 3 times. Probably it's more than that, but we have a formal review of enrollment, exit, and a final audits. We have developed a scoring system that we've used, and the checklist really, and it's a lot of elements. As you can see, there's from 80 to 84 elements that we're looking at in each of these audits. So it's very intense. It takes a lot of work from our case managers to make sure that we are in compliance of the WIOA program. The financial monitoring, this is also a checklist that the career advisors can use to make sure that all documentation is uploaded in the system, and it allows me to check expenses to make sure that they're allowable expenses for WIOA. For performance, there's been a big shift in WIOA performance and the focus of that. We're kind of past the COVID pandemic reporting timeline, so we're really focused in on meeting those performance goals. I do hold regular meetings with the career team and support staff there. I hope they would say that I'm a support to them. They can call me anytime if they need anything. We also implemented some quarterly performance audits this year to make sure that we're ahead of when the state pulls performance. Then I can make sure that everything has been entered accurately, so that we can have accurate reporting when the state does pull that. All right, for performance, clean state programmatic audits, we've had, which resulted in 0 disallowed cost or no additional responses needed to any of the audits that we've had. So that's huge. We talked about our checklist and how we have implemented that. I've noticed a huge success even in the past 6 months. I think the career advisors and career team is getting used to that. So it proves to be working well. like January through June, we were at about 82%. And as of yesterday, from July 1st to current, they're at 90%. So that shows that the checklists are truly working and they are getting used to what's expected, and there's the clear guidelines there. On performance metrics, I know John spoke on this at our last meeting. We did meet 14 out of the 15 performance metrics for PY23. However, we did meet all of the performance measures for the state rates. So we exceeded all of those, but we have a negotiated rate for one of our indicators that is a little bit higher for South Central than it is at the state rate. So we did exceed that metric. Wanted to thank everybody that has contributed to our success for the WIOA program this year. Career team, your dedication and hard work is the driving force behind our success in the program, and most importantly, the individuals that we serve.
Some color commentary. We don't come into our board meetings usually and talk about compliance and all the federal oversight. There is a lot of federal oversight over what we do, a lot. And, we don't talk about it very often, but we do very well, largely because we've got Jessica and career team taking it very seriously. There's really two ways you get in trouble in this business. Don't, misspend money and mess up your compliance. And, again, our audits have been clean and our compliance has been clean the last few years because we've got really capable people doing really good work to ensure that we are above board in everything we do. And Jessica's worked really hard to put a lot of systems and processes in place to make sure that we are not only in compliance, but we're projecting out our performance. And if something's not projecting correctly, we can course correct beforehand to get ourselves in the right space.
And now we'll hear our marketing highlights and updates from Ms. Leslie Whitty.
Good morning, everyone. One of the most interesting things about social media, in my opinion, is the fact that it has permeated every single one of our lives without us really even thinking about it. What did we do before social media? On average, we each had an extra 2.5 hours per day. That is how much time the average person spends on social media. It may not be in one time frame, that may be chopped up throughout the day, but we all do it. We all do it. Myself included.
I'm on it right now.
Yeah, all right. Good job.
That's what happens. Is that videos or is that all videos?
That encompasses everything. Some of us may even do more than that. But one of the other things that really is impactful is how it enables us as a board to tell our stories and to reach more people. At its best, social media can be a very positive, powerful tool. And let me throw a couple numbers out at you. Now, I checked this morning and we're already over 55,000 video views for the year for the board. That's a big number. 55,000 video views for the year. Videos that I produce for the board. And if you couple that with the fact that our staff has traveled over 57,000 miles this year. Wow. What you've just done is double the impact. Social media enables us to communicate our stories. Print media enables us to communicate our stories, and that is a critical part of what we do. If people don't know about our services, if they don't know about the success that we help people achieve on a daily basis, then we're not doing our best work. And it is an honor for me to be able to share what these people do on a daily basis. The year in review, I'll just tell you, as I was working on that, I mean, I teared up multiple times in reading these stories. The people in this room are changing lives. They are changing lives. And it is an honor to be able to be a part of that. Just a few numbers. We have almost 7,000 followers across all of our social media platforms. Again, very impressive numbers for a workforce board in South Central Kentucky. I am thrilled that we continue to gain momentum. Once you hit a certain peak in social media, you don't tend to double and triple your numbers, but we've been consistent and we consistently grow. On our website, we have about 1,000 visitors on average every month. If we did not have that, think about all the individuals that we would be missing. So social media, the internet, all of these things, it all boils down to we are telling our story. And the fact that we're continuing to grow, that we have more and more success stories to share, I think it's hats off to the people in this room. All I'm doing is communicating their best efforts. But thank you, 2024.
All right, so now we'll switch gears to some of the staff that work primarily out of the Kentucky Career Center. We'll start with Mr. Frank Gerbato, our one-stop operator.
All right, welcome. One-stop operator. Everybody asks me, what the heck is a one-stop operator? OSO. So I'm going to read you directly from the a quote from the Department of Labor regulation. Under the direction of the local board, operators are required to coordinate the delivery of partner program services at their job centers. And we have a comprehensive center in Bowling Green, an affiliate center on Fairview, and we have 16 access points. Ensuring AJCs can provide customers with career services, training services, and other employment-related services provided by required partner programs. And John talked about the required partners. We have some others. There's a bunch of numbers up there. So let me just summarize. These are the numbers of the folks who actually came into the center. So let me summarize some of the things that we did that involved these numbers. We had 7 job fairs at that career center. The one in January happened to be the coldest day in the state, where we had 300-something customers come to that building. The one we had in August happened to be the hottest day in the state. We had over 400 folks. We've had 40 RESCAs. RESCA is Reemployment Services and Eligibility Assessment Program class workshops specifically designed for unemployment insurance claimants. We've had, and we're starting to come up on a monthly basis with putting Kentucky in first workshops. We've had 3 so far. When it comes to managing day-to-day operations, including the hours of operation at the Career Center, other than the normal holiday closures, we happen to have 7 impending weather closures where we close the center, a half day for internet maintenance service. We've added 2 closures this year on Juneteenth and this year presidential election. As far as one-stop personnel, we welcome Haley to the career team. As far as career team goes, we also said hello and goodbye to Malaysia, Lacey, and Penny. And the career development office, we lost Joseph, but we welcomed Elizabeth Boston and Arlen Mink. On the Job Corps side, we welcome Sarah Behringer. And on the adult education side, we welcome Tiffany Deaton. Facility maintenance. I've been in that building for 20 years. That building was constructed in 1957. Finally, we have a new parking lot. We have a new parking lot. And of course, we always go through the rigmarole of who's going to turn on the heat, who's going to turn on the air conditioning, right? That goes, and who's going to fix the ceilings that are leaking. At least 3 incidents this year. Fortunately, in the 20 years that I've been here, we have not had any, and John experienced this at one time, we have not had any flooding in the building this year. And when it comes to ensuring the one-stop certification process, we're going to go through the one-stop certification process for the Career Center and the affiliate site next year. But this year, we recertified 16 of our access points located throughout the 10-county region. 16. And my representative from Congressman Guthrie, remind him that we will be watching. We will be singing second. Beat Navy.
Next, I'm gonna invite Mike Carter, the Career Development Officer, Regional Manager.
Frank is a U.S. Army Military Academy graduate.
Okay, Frank actually touched on some of the stuff that I was going to talk about for CDO, but I've got other stuff to talk about. These folks have done a really good job there. I'm the regional manager. Bernetta Douglas is the manager, and she was going to be up here talking to you today, but she couldn't make it to the meeting. But I saw these numbers and I had a feeling something was going on. We were getting busier and busier, and I saw them. Okay, I'm not losing my mind. We have been doing a lot this year. First off, CDO does, as John mentioned earlier, the Wagner Pizer program, which is basically the beginnings of this. We're the navigators. We kind of help people figure out what they need next, and we address some of the obstacles people have. Like John mentioned, the lack of a resume or not knowing where to look for jobs and that kind of thing. And we help identify barriers. And our barriers are the big problems, and that's where we make referrals to our partner agencies, whether it be a lack of a high school diploma, needing additional training, having a disability. So we refer to those other problems. But CDO is also responsible for the Jobs for Veterans state grant program. And, John mentioned that we achieved platinum status as a workforce area, which was great. And I do believe our JVSG staff, Tony Grimando and Roberta Bradley, had a huge part in dealing with that. Tony and Roberta, for the second out of the last 3 years, won the state performance award for their job functions in JVSG. And actually, Tony was part of that for the second time. Roberta's relatively new, so this was her first time getting that award. But what they do individually is Tony works with the business service team and employers to help pave the way for veterans, whether they are just transitioning out of military service or have some other issues where they're having difficulties adjusting to civilian life. And he deals specifically with getting the word out to the employers. Roberta deals with the veterans themselves, veterans with disabilities, newly transitioning members, to help them a little more intensely than they would get from the regular CDO staff. Just that little extra help. They're both veterans themselves, so they can kind of identify what these veterans are going through. But we all work together, and just those two in particular have done wonderful jobs. Throughout the time that I've been working with the Kentucky Career Center, it's about 12 years now, we've been trying to get away from unemployment. We don't want to be known as the unemployment office. Well, this past year, we just, as CDO in this area especially, just decided we're not going to bother with trying to avoid it. We're just going to embrace it. We don't actually do unemployment, but we can help with the little stuff, like the hurdles and things. And sometimes we can help people understand what the delay is about to alleviate some of their frustrations. And we encourage our staff to be as transparent as possible and reason with people. You know, your unemployment may be delayed, but you're not going to get some big windfall when it does happen. So we use that as a conversation into the, hey, let's help you work with your main problem is that you don't have a job. A lot of these, so 4,400 people helping with UI, that's a lot. That's a lot of people. And unfortunately, not all those people are actually unemployed. A lot of times it's just temporary layoffs and maybe they don't understand the process or answered a question incorrectly or something. And we can kind of help with those glitches in the system. But then, you know, when we do get some problems, or maybe you want a job that doesn't lay off so much, and we work through those and identify some barriers that they're having to get better employment. But they're doing a fine job out at the Career Center. And what I would like to see is this is the place where we go to get help with our employment needs. And, you know, tell their friends they did have a good experience. And we get that quite a bit. They're coming from other areas talking about, hey, I'm coming to Bowling Green because somebody told me that you guys are doing a good job. So I really appreciate the work staff there has been doing.
All right, thank you, Mike. Next, I'm going to invite Matt Bacon, with Executive Director at Career Team, to come forward and talk about the reach and efforts of the Career Team. And if anybody knows how to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," we can do a 7th inning stretch for a minute too, or no? Okay. Yes.
Ready to go, Brian?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So Career Team is the direct service provider for the board, and facilitating and supporting different workforce initiatives across the 10-county region. Using a high-touch, high-tech approach in coordination with the board, our organization blends intensive case management with innovative technology to deliver personalized, accessible, and impactful services. Now, even though we are high-tech, high-touch, that doesn't exempt us from low down and dirty work that sometimes we're involved in up at 803 Chestnut, as you heard Frank talk about. And in fact, I've prepared a David Letterman top 10 list of why we would work in WIOA. Didn't expect this, did you, Brian?
No, go for it.
Okay. Number 10. I never thought these were very funny on David Letterman, so you don't have to laugh. But I did my best to imitate. Number 10. Because who needs a boring desk job when you can explain WIOA acronyms to strangers all day? Number 9. We love being the human version of Google for job seekers who think we have a magical employment portal. We believe in removing barriers, even if it means calling the DMV 12 times and setting up 3 appointments in 3 different counties for our participants. Using the state system, it's a tough one. Where else can we celebrate someone getting steel-toe boots like they just won an Olympic medal? And that's really true. Number 6, it's not just a job, it's a chance to learn the creative excuses for missing appointments. We get that quite a bit. That we heard one from John yesterday. The guy ended up in jail, I think about 3 or 4 different times on his way trying just to get to us. Number 5, because watching someone get their first paycheck after training is better than a free hot brown at a derby party. I had to stay clean. Couldn't go David Letterman. We secretly love the look of shock when people realize their dream job didn't require a 4-year degree, just 4 weeks of training. Number 3, helping someone land a job beats any reality TV drama. No cliffhangers, just real happy endings.
Yeah.
And number two, because changing lives one ID or one work uniform at a time is better than binge watching Netflix. And number one, serving others reminds us every day why we do the work we do, to make the world a little kinder, stronger, and more connected, one client at a time. Now, the work we do, we focus on three different areas: comprehensive workforce support. So we're removing barriers to employment for adults, dislocated workers, and youth through the WIOA programs. Some of that money that John spoke about earlier. Specialized grants beyond WIOA. Career team with the board leverages special grants to assist individuals outside of traditional eligibility categories, broadening our reach and impact across the region and the state. And community collaboration, partnerships with local community organizations, employers, stakeholders drive measurable workforce outcomes, ensuring alignment with regional needs. And it really does. Person starts with Whitney up in Hart County. She's on here, makes it to us, gets over to Dr. Myers, goes on to Kendra or to Rob back there. So really, one person gets, for lack of a better word, touched all the way through the system. This year, we've been focused on expanding support for vulnerable populations. We're dedicated to serving the most vulnerable members of our community, including rural youth, individuals incarcerated or recently released from jail, those in recovery, and those who have experienced job loss or have little to no job experience at all. In 2024, Career Team, in coordination with the board, continued to expand its outreach to the region's high schools, jails, recovery centers, sober living facilities, community college, employers, professional organizations, and community partners. Despite being a small team of 8, there's 8 of us. We have 3 career advisors, 1 quality assurance person, career navigator, 2 business service representatives, and me. So despite being a small team of 8, Career Team maximizes its impact on meeting participants where they are, utilizing an affiliate site model to ensure service accessibility across the region. Our efforts empower individuals to overcome challenges, gain skills, and achieve sustainable employment outcomes. And again, it takes everybody. And I just like to give it up again for our ladies back there. A lot of people that they've got through this year. And it's not easy work. We do have to chase people down. We do have to work Saturdays and Sundays, even though we can't put it on our timesheet. We're out there beating the streets all the time.
All right, Matt. Yep. Thank you, sir.
So,
Good morning.
yeah, so Judge Fleener couldn't be here today, and he recorded a short video, but we're a little bit behind. But just to summarize, he basically talked a little bit about he is our chief local elected official, so he represents all the 10 judges, and really he comes to a lot of our meetings, pays very close attention to what we're doing, and he just describes in the video, his observations, which are all positive. But we're going to skip that. We can send that video out separately, just in the interest of time. We'll try to get back on the timeline by skipping that video.
Yep, and we have a special guest, Alice here. We introduced him at the beginning, but he represents the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board, and he's going to give us some updates from a statewide perspective.
Yes, thank you all, and thank you for having me this morning. I want to also recognize we have a new interim commissioner, Mike Yoder. He is sitting right there. Please get a chance to chat with him. We're excited to have him with the Department of Workforce Development, and I want to also thank some of the members here that we kind of share across the state board. We work very closely with Justin and his thoughtfulness, and also Teresa Hayes. She's been very involved with us. And recently we held a strategic gathering and your board chair was crucial to that. So thank you, Charles, for joining us. When John and I just discussed me coming and having a conversation with you all, he wanted me to talk about the past, the future of the KWIB, and some observations I see across the state. So briefly, the State Workforce Board is similar in nature to local boards. We have 51% business representation, we have labor, we have education, we have elected officials, but we have 40 members. So we have a lot of individuals and we have a lot of diverse thoughts. And the idea is to be strategic. It is an advisory board to the governor meant to create the state strategy for workforce development. To serve those two customers, to serve the individuals, to make sure that they have opportunity to good jobs, that they can have a good quality of life, whether they go to post-secondary education, whether they go to a four-year degree, whether it's a short-term certificate, whatever gets you there. And then other customer is the business. We want to make sure our businesses across the Commonwealth have good talent and qualified talent. With that said, I want to extend another thank you as we look at the past. So every state has to submit a state plan to the federal government, to U.S. Department of Labor, and say for the next 4 years, this is our plan. So when we decided to do this, we wanted to take the grassroots approach to hear from the individuals that are involved in this work every day. So we started off our first location because we wanted to go to all 10 local areas. We started with South Central, and South Central really put the bar high. We held 4 focus groups at each location. So we heard from businesses, we heard from elected officials, we heard from community members, and we also heard from individual customers to say, when you look at the workforce system today, what do you see? When you look at the workforce system of the future, what do you want to see? So we gathered all that intel from across the state, and some of the top topics that came up. Number one, without a doubt, was youth. Youth is the future, and everyone said we got to find ways to better serve youth and get them more engaged in the workforce system. The way to do that, work-based learning, was a big topic. All the various ships, from internships, mentorships to apprenticeships, all those opportunities are necessary, and the line between education and workforce needs to be a little more blurry, that you're able to learn while you're working and work while you're learning. And so we've seen that across the state with dual credits, with apprenticeships going up, with more companies involved in schools. And that's thank you to the Kentucky Department of Education and every entity that goes with it. We also heard the support for the untapped talent pools. Those are your reentry population pools, immigrants and refugees, individuals with disabilities, veterans, youth, people coming from recovery, individuals with skills deficiency. So that was a high interest across the state. So what we did with that information, we put it into a 400-page document and submitted it to federal government. But we took that opportunity to do a compliance necessary routine work and made it more strategic and heard from the grassroots side. So we're very thankful to do that. Something that's kind of connected to it is going to be coming out to the local and regional boards, is to be able to do local regional plans. So that's coming up from you all for next year. So we'll be happy to support you all. But my recommendation is use that opportunity to be strategic and get everyone on board. Some of the things that are upcoming with the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board are various things. I'll briefly highlight a couple things. With the partnership with the Department of Workforce Development, we'll be looking at hybrid services. We know that service delivery is much more than just a physical location, but we know that physical location at times is necessary. But then there's all the different ways to deliver services. So that's going to be looked at. Work-ready communities, you all have seen this program over a decade now. We did an analysis from economic developers and local stakeholders and asked, is work-ready communities still important to you all? And if it wasn't, we were gonna, sunset it. But what we heard was work-ready communities is an important aspect to Kentucky, but it needs to evolve. And the evolution of it includes regionalism versus county by county, and also addressing talent needs. We heard across the board, childcare, transportation, and housing is a barrier to employment. So what Work Ready Communities is going to be is empowering the local communities, the regional partners to address that. It takes, I think, local, regional, state, and federal initiatives to make those barriers go down. And then finally, the board recently at our November meeting voted on in-demand sectors for the Commonwealth. We have 5 in-demand sectors. They are healthcare, manufacturing and logistics, construction, education, and professional, scientific, and technical services. In that category, the last one includes jobs like software developer, computer support specialist. It also includes analysts and paralegals. Across these 5 sectors, you see different avenues. You have entry-level jobs, you have mid-level jobs, and you have high-skilled jobs that require further education. And in the workforce system, I think focusing on those middle skills, middle opportunities to lead to a good life, sustainable wages is an important key to us. A note about those 5 sectors: we really took a 2-phase approach. We utilize a quantitative and a qualitative analysis. We use the Kentucky Center for Statistics and businesses to look at occupations and transition that over to sectors. Then that quantitative analysis went over to a qualitative group made up of education and training providers that verified that. We had economic development on the team to make sure that as we look at these 5 sectors, that we're in line of the investments and the growth that are happening. And another thing that we noted is every 5 years, the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board, along with partners, will look at the 5 sectors to make sure we're not behind on the evolution of the world of work. It happens fast, right? And so, but what that means to you all is those are the 5 sectors for the Commonwealth. But there's an opportunity to add 2 more sectors on the local side if you foresee that your economy is slightly different and that you need to add something that we're not seeing, such as Corvette manufacturing. I don't know. That's for you all to decide. And some of the observations that I see across the state, and I say this all the time, John will kill me, but South Central puts innovation in WIOA. You all really are innovative on the services that you offer, the individuals that you serve, and the diversified funding that you're seeing. I saw the change year after year. WIOA nationally is decreasing, and local boards that are not diversifying, they're going to be left behind. And you all are diversifying that. You're diversifying the talent pools that you're serving. You're diversifying the companies that you're serving and finding programs to make that happen. So I think that's a major observation, and I am very thankful for the innovation that you all spark in the state for everyone else. And we are thankful on the state workforce board because this is where the action happens, and we take it, we promote it, we storytell, we create the strategy based on the work that happens by you all, the committed partners and employers and labor organizations. So thank you for what you do. And with that, I don't want to take any more time. I'll take any questions, but pass it back to you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so next up, we've got State Representative Robert Duvall, and he represents Warren County. And Representative Duvall has been paying very close attention to our local workforce board for at least a year now. And I think that's parlayed into running a workforce task force. And so we wanted to give him an opportunity to talk about the work that he has been doing and share some of the observations that he carries from South Central to Frankfort.
Silly. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you for being here. There's a lot of great leadership in this room, and I'm thankful that that we are able to get together and put our heads together and come up with the best solutions. But you know, I had a 52-slide PowerPoint, but Brian said no, so I said I can do it in 5 minutes, but he said no. But anyway. We have Representative Jackson, Representative McPherson here. We all three are on the Economic Development Workforce Committee. We've done a lot of work. We hear a lot of great presentations. Thankful that I get to serve with them in the General Assembly. One of the things that it's important for us is to be competitive with our neighboring states. And so that's the reason we're lowering our state income tax. And that was our first vote a couple years ago when I started, was to lower the income tax. We're going to vote in January next month to lower it again to about 3.5%. So we're trying to get that to zero. As our neighboring state to the south, Tennessee, has a 0% state income tax. So we want to be competitive with our surrounding areas. Yes, so you're exactly right, John. So I co-chaired a task force on workforce, and so it was called the Workforce Attraction and Retention Task Force. And so I co-chaired that with Senator Max Wise, which we're also blessed to have him also representing a portion of Warren County as well. We looked at a number of different factors. The bottom line is if we want to see our economy thrive, we've got to see those workforce participation numbers improve. And so we looked at several barriers that are potential problems in that area. So the first one we looked at was marketing, and we need to do a better job of marketing our state. And so we're going to be looking at that over the course of the next year. You probably see ads all the time from Florida and Michigan. They've done a really good job of promoting their state. And so we're going to be looking into that. Our state has a lot to offer. The beauty, the great people of the state. We just need to be able to promote that because our population's not growing. And as a matter of fact, the only way our population has grown as a state is through immigration. And so we're going to have to look to other states and really want to steal some of their talent. Childcare, we've mentioned that. Childcare is a huge barrier. We've looked at legislation in the last couple of years of trying to address that issue. We've established some. Representative Heverin had a bill that said basically if an employer contributes to childcare, then the state will match that. And so there's some application processes in place for that. I was surprised that a lot of people aren't aware of that. So we need to do a better job of communicating those types of opportunities. Transportation also mentioned, another huge barrier. I think for me, I grew up in Muhlenberg County and, I didn't grow up very well off, but I had a car when I turned 16, and so I just thought that was normal. It is not normal. There are a lot of people who can't get a job because they can't afford a vehicle, they can't afford the insurance, they can't afford the maintenance on it. So we've got to do a better job as a state looking at transportation, because if we can get people, to work, then they're going to be more likely to work. So we've got to look at that. Another one, this was probably the most heartbreaking story that I heard during our presentations in our workforce. That was about an Afghanistan nurse who came to our area, to our state, and she could not get a job because she could not prove that she had an education in Afghanistan because since she was a woman, they had burned her credentials. And she had no way of proving that. That is just absolutely heartbreaking to me. So what we've got to do is we've got to remove those barriers, those credentialing barriers. Now, of course, we want to make sure that the quality of care and healthcare and everything else we do is very high. But how do we make that an easier path for folks that are coming into our state and our country who are already skilled? And so we've got to look at removing some of those barriers and trying to streamline those processes. We want to look at other areas, our non-violent offenders. We've got a lot of folks out there that we need to get in the workforce. They've paid their dues, they've served their time. Now we need to remove those barriers and get them back in the workforce so they can be a productive member of society. We looked at other areas in our task force, disabilities, folks who have dealt with substance abuse in the past. We've got to do a better job there. Also, veterans, which we mentioned, Representative McPherson is going to be probably proposing a bill this next session trying to eliminate the state income tax for our veterans and for, before the state does it as a whole. So trying to create an incentive. We're losing a lot of folks to other states for that very reason, particularly Tennessee. I think the breakdown is about 80% of folks from Fort Campbell go to Tennessee. We only get 20% of those people. So we've got to do a better job of recruiting those folks. They are highly skilled. They are hard workers. They're disciplined. Those are the kind of people that we want working in our state. I just want to thank Brian. I want to thank John. I want to thank, we had Teresa Hayes. We had Anna. We had Whitney Shope, who also, all of them came and presented to the task force over the interim period. And so South Central Kentucky is leading. And you guys are very well respected, and the information that you provided to our group was crucial to our recommendations. Just on one final note here, Representative Jackson and I had an opportunity to meet with folks from the new leaders of a new Impact Center for Leadership that's being built over in Cumberland Trace. That's going to be an amazing facility. I may give you a second at the end that you don't want to. Okay, so, well, I'll just kind of tell you, that's fine. Yeah. I'll just give you the highlights of the different opportunities that's going to be provided there. We're going to look at medical arts, media arts, computer science, engineering, public service, aviation. And so we've got these different areas that are going to be emphasized in this high school setting, where students can get out of high school and immediately go in and start working, getting very, very good wages. And so without a debt. So anyways, there's a lot of great things going on in South Central Kentucky. And the best thing that we can do is put our heads together and come up with the best solutions, because I don't think any one of us have the best solutions. But when we all work together, I promise you we're going to come up with the best solutions. If there's anything I can do, let me know. Thank you.
Very powerful to hear your words, and it was exciting to hear when that task force came together. Speaking of the 52-page PowerPoint, though, so you're an optometrist, so it was really big font at the top. And
yes, it was. Yes,
that's too much reading. I can't do that. So,
yes.
All right, so now you're going to hear some customer success stories, and we have different people to introduce those. And so I'm going to let Bianca and Jake maybe introduce our first guest.
Hello, everyone. Like they said, today we wanted to bring out some employers so that they can kind of tell you their experience with our programs. First up, we'll have Stuart Ritchie, and we have Rob and Matthew here with us today.
Well, I guess I drew the short straw. I got to follow that. So thank you for everything you guys are doing in Frankfort. It's making a difference. And we're going to have some discussions here. So I'm here to talk about Michael Barnhart today, but I want to talk about Stuart Ritchie real quick. We talked about the growth in our community. Stuart Ritchie workforce has grown 18% this year. That's a big deal for a company that's been here for 50 years. Usually we're just chugging along, but that growth is both organic and it's dynamic in the fact that we're outside of our region a little bit, but we can't grow without the manpower to do the jobs, the trades, so to say, the Trades Proud initiative that we launched. Everything is built on the trades. I don't care what we do as a leadership group. I don't care if it's computer science or medical infrastructure. You're not doing that if you don't have plumbing, electrical, fire protection, steel. All of that is something that we can do. So when Michael came to us, it's a very unique story. He actually came to us through Facebook. There was a thread going around, and it might have been, I don't remember the exact Facebook thread. It might have been Happenings in Bowling Green or one of those that most of us are probably a part of. He commented that he would like a new career. Not knowing anything about Michael, Mike Collins reached out to him. Mike can't be here today because he's actually in Washington, D.C. with his wife. She works in healthcare. So Michael said, I'd like a new career. I'm looking for something to do. Didn't want a job. He wanted a career. So that's a little bit of self-reflection on him. He wanted to be a plumber. We don't have enough of that in our industry or in our general region, right? But one time, let your plumbing fail at your house, and I will be your best friend. So when that conversation started, it was a back and forth on private messenger, and Michael had reached out, and we invited Michael in, not knowing what to expect from Michael. Michael came to us, and I want to brag on this with Matt Bacon and his team. I don't know all their names, okay? But he came to us very well prepared. He interviewed well. Clearly, he had been coached. He was presented himself very well. And more importantly, he showed up on time. You know, just showing up. We all showed up today. Just being present in the moment is important. So he's done this, and now he's well on his way to being a licensed plumber. Licensed plumbers typically would start out 5 years ago, $16 an hour, and then they would traverse up through the ranks and provide for their families. Today, those same jobs are starting out somewhere around $26 to $32 an hour. And in many cases, like Michael's, this is generational changing career path for him. But he needs that opportunity. You know, he was a recovering addict. He had some issues, ran into some issues with the law. We can't fix that. But when an individual comes to us and they need an opportunity out of that hole they've got themselves into, and they genuinely want out of it, then we can be there as employers. And so I didn't do anything special for Michael. I did nothing special for him. We simply got a reference. They sent him to us prepared, and we offered him opportunity. Everything he's done is on his own. It's on his own success, and his future will be on his own success. We will hold him accountable, just like we would anyone else. So no special consideration was given to him, but he wanted out, and he was provided the resources in a manner to which to get to us, you know, the transportation, the readiness for the interview, and he came well equipped. So Michael's a success story because he wants to be a success story. And again, I'll give credit to the team in the back because that's where it comes from. We simply hired him and gave him opportunities. So very proud of Michael.
And the story will continue. We'll let Haley share from a career advisor's perspective. So come on up, Haley. Pass the mic.
Hello, everybody. I'm Haley Rhodes, and I am Michael's career advisor. Michael was actually my very first participant, from the beginning to the end. And Amy Settles, thank you. She's my mentor. She actually helped me out with him. Michael came to me after 14 months being incarcerated for choices that he would say at the time he thought were good, but now looking back, were not very good choices. When he came to me, he didn't know what he wanted to do necessarily, but he knew that he wanted to make a difference. He knew he wanted to make a change for himself. So we sat in my cubicle for probably about 2.5 hours, 3 hours, my very first time meeting him, just talking, going back and forth. And what it came down to was he knew that he was now a felon. He knew he had nowhere to go. He was living in sober living, and he was a recovering addict, but he wanted to make a difference. So what we did was help him out, make sure that he had a place to stay. So I got him rental assistance so he could stay in that sober living home and actually prepare for himself. He said, Haley, I want to get a full-time job and I want to go back to school. Plumbing, I think, is a good idea. I think that long-term, I know I will be successful and that I would make good money. I said, okay, cool. Well, we're trying out all these temp agencies. Nothing's really going through. He said, hey, Haley, I saw this ad on Facebook for Stuart Ritchie. Should I apply? I said, well, is it a scam or is it real? He said, I think it's real. Should I do it? And I was like, yeah, go ahead. Any way you can get a job, try it. So he did that. He DM'd and asked, private message, sorry, and asked for an interview. And he came to me and said, well, I need interview clothes. Like, I need something. I don't have anything to look nice. I need a haircut, all of this. We got him all souped up, got him ready to go. It was probably about a week later. I think Mike was I think he was out of town at the time. So it was probably about a week later when he actually got the call. And he called me, legit crying on the phone, telling me that he was hired and that he was going to be an apprentice plumber. And he said, Haley, that's my goal. I did it. We got one goal, full-time work, and I'm in plumbing. I said, okay. Then he calls me probably about like a week later or so. Haley, I got into school. So he's doing online classes full-time at Phoenix University, and he is at like a 92 right now in A, and he only has 15 months left. He also let me know that normally Stuart Ritchie does a 1 year a progress report pretty much on their employees. They went ahead and did his, even though he's only been there for like 6 months, and he got a $1 raise. So obviously he's doing something right with Stuart Ritchie, and I just want to say that I'm very proud of him, and he's now working on getting his own place. He reached out to me this weekend on a Saturday. Like Matt said, we can't clock those hours. I don't clock those hours, but my phone still rings. I'm going to pick it up for him. He is looking to get his own apartment, and I think it's going to be like a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, and it's something that he can afford, and he's getting out of sober living. So he's a plumber. He's probably going to be having his own truck within a year. Normally apprenticeships are like 2 years. He's probably going to have a truck in a year. So he's going to be graduating college in about 15 months, and he has full-time employment. That's a complete 360 from where he was at, which was incarcerated and addicted to drugs. So I just want to say that Michael Barnhart, he's my #1 success story, and I will follow him until I no longer see him anymore.
All right, we have another success story. Miss Jasmine coming to share as a career advisor. Come on up, Jasmine.
Okay, so this is Miss Vanessa. She is actually on Monique's caseload. She wasn't here to be able to present. She's presenting for us somewhere else. Vanessa actually worked in our office through ADECO for the career development side at the front desk. And she is a character for real, someone that you will get to know and you'll love. The thing with Miss Vanessa is she constantly worked temporary jobs. And her main thing was, I need a job that I can get so I can get health insurance and can be stabilized. So we have put her through a WEX through the Kentucky Farm Workers. We were hoping that she would be able to go on full time. That didn't happen. And then she took another position through a temp agency at a factory, and that didn't work either. So then we reached out to her and told her about a opportunity through Dove Healing Center, and she was actually able to get hired on. And so she still works there full time, is able to have her health insurance that she really wanted, and is doing really well. So that is our success story for Miss Vanessa.
Okay, yep, we'll pass it over to Anna. So we have one employer that is on their way, and we may have another one that we can squeeze in here, but we'll keep going with the rest of the agenda. And I want to introduce Anna St. Christoffel. We've referenced her several times, and she's our new American Workforce Navigator.
So good morning, happy Thursday, buenos dias, jambo, bonjour, buongiorno. This is South Central Workforce New American Teams. We are here with Miss Laura, Isa, Machosi, and myself, Anna San Christoffel. In my position as New American Workforce Navigator, we help and support all different New American that we can find in this area. Our major activities are community and high school engagement. We make a mostly presentation in the 5 Warren County High School for our New American student and their family. Employment services, we help at our participant, New American participant, to find a job, a permanent job. But our goal is not only to find a job or refer them at different companies. Our goal is to make them competitive in the system, and in the future, they can continue by themselves. And employer engagement, we work with different companies trying to find the best candidate possible for the company and participate in the hiring process. This year, we personally assisted at more than 1,600 participants, 1,600 new American participants. But 2024 was a very especially difficult year for us because there were not a lot of positions open. So we have to double our effort to support and help our participants. But we can say that 50% of them receive a permanent job offer. So in 2024, we can say again that we have more than 800 success stories. And one of them you can find in the page number 7. And I leave you at Laura to continue with the presentation. Thank you so much.
I am part of the New American team here at the South Central Workforce Development Board. That's me right there. So our initiatives with that continue with the Refugee Employer Engagement Program, which is aimed at supporting local employers to provide on-site English communication and other specialized employee training for employers in the refugee workforce. By providing the on-site training, we want employers to encourage and reinforce long-term career opportunities within their company. I have presented the REAP program to over 30 employers, and I am set to launch an on-site class first quarter of 2025. REAP is contributing to the Workforce Board's commitment to bolstering the area's workforce and helping employers invest in their teams to create thriving workplaces. And you can find my story on page 17. And with that, I leave you with Isa.
Thank you. Yeah, this is me. Yeah, I'm Isa Wilonja Bauer. I oversee the training, vocational training program in South Central, Workforce Development Board. This program aims to help refugees being self-sufficient by providing short-term credential-bearing training, like in welding, in plumbing, in nursing, in commercial driver license. And in this year, I've been in touch with more than 700 people, and I have an office, 102 people coming and having one session. Among them, 52 took a CASA STEPS test. So we provide some tests to assess English proficiency before getting people enrolled to training. And you know, people are making choice, either getting training or getting job. So in this job, I have this kind of people. I'm ready to go to training, but I have family to feed. What choice I need to make now? So I said, okay, find job and come. You can find how you can get training. And also we have a language barrier. Many people like new Americans, refugee and immigrants, you know, it's hard to someone to come and real quick to go to training. Like myself, I've been here like 2 years and I'm struggling to speak English. And we have people, adult ones, you know, someone over 45 years, it's hard to learn new language. So we have people ready to go in mines, and some have been like doctors, nurses, engineers in the country, but because of language barriers, they don't have access to the employment. So we need them to get some skills and some knowledge, because in America, I say for all new Americans, English is power, and knowledge and skills are key. So we need people to get power and key so they can make, they can thrive in the US economy. We still making some challenge. We still getting people coming, but not ready to go. Now I only have 8 people, a little bit ready to go, but I can say they are all ready to go. They still struggle at some point, but in spring, we might have some number. Maybe we can celebrate some milestone with 8 people getting training. Thank you.
Isa's a wonderful example of walking the walk, walking the talk, because he, again, is a student at WKU full-time, now pursuing his master's. He's only been here 2 years. So he's in the target audience that he's trying to work with. I am gonna go back real quick, because we do have another employer highlight to share, so Bianca, if you can do the introduction.
So we also have Taylor Sanitation here we have Tina Taylor here to talk to us about her experiences with our program. Oh. I'm looking like I didn't do a presentation. I'm like, is this a microphone? Hello, everybody. My name is Tina Taylor, and we own Taylor Sanitation, and we are a small minority-owned business here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. We are one of 3 sanitation companies. We have partnered with the career team, and I know this is going to be a different word, but it's kind of like a hodgepodge, right? So we look for CDL drivers, but not only have we had CDL drivers come through our program, we've also had, I'm not sure if this is the right word, like elderly people that have come through our program trying to get back into the workforce. They're just retired. They now have no current skills. So they come to us. We've also had some people that have come to just do office skills and try to get back into the workforce. Unfortunately, we are not the employer that keeps everybody that comes through the program. But what we try to do, because a lot of the people that come through our program have a lot of barriers, right? So we try to get them back on the right track. We try to give them the experience they need. And then we use some of our resources to connect them with jobs because they need the experience. They need the letter of reference stating that, I'm a good worker. I have now showed that I've been on this job for 6 to 8 months. I have these skills, and then they are able to get a job, right, that can feed their family and that they can go on and be better employees. A lot of the trucking companies that you guys provide with the CDL training, they have a hard time getting a job because they have to have the experience, but nobody will hire them because they're fresh out of the CDL class. So we try to partner with career team to get them the experience they need, and then using the resources that we have to get them good paying jobs so that they can use the benefit that you guys are allowing them to have. I didn't have a number of how many people that we've had, but I would say half of the people that we have had go through the program have now solidified good paying jobs with other companies that we partner with. I would say a fourth of the people, this just wasn't the field for them, right? It wasn't the field for them. We were able to help them with some resources. We were able to give them some skills, and then they went on, and I didn't actually partner that. And I would say that the other fourth, we were able to get them like desk jobs, or, some of them are actually still with us. We have 10 or 12 that are actually still with, us hanging in there and either learning more skills or staying with what they have with us. I didn't have bullet points, so I don't know if there's anything else that I'm supposed to say or if there's any questions. Like I said, I just kind of feel like we don't have just one dimensional with career team. We partner with, several different aspects, not just one or two. If they call and say, hey, we have a person that needs this, if we can accommodate and we have the resources, then we take them because we feel like it's a hand-in-hand partnership.
Yeah, I mean, what you're describing is our subsidized internship program. So this is where if somebody's got a barrier and their skills have atrophied, we have an employer partner like Taylor Sanitation where we could subsidize them to do an internship, and we appreciate the partnership.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing that. All right, and then we have one other program staff, Miss Brittany Hippler, if you'll come up, and you'll add some color commentary to other stories that are also featured in the handouts you guys have in front of you.
Thank you to Brian for not using the other picture. The other one was awful. My name is Brittany Hippler. I work with the Reentry and Employment Services branch. So my job is a South Central navigator. My boss gave me a script because he speaks much more eloquently than I do. But the Reentry and Employment Services branch is focused on individuals that are justice impacted. And that can be from kind of like if they've been in there long term or even just child support. So we are there to help them once they get out, and our mission is to help them with employment, education, get them going in the right directions. Well, we've been very successful in the South Central region, but we are also in Lincoln Trail, Cumberlands, Tenco, and moving into Western Kentucky. So we work with AOC with their drug court, their mental health court. I'm actually going to a mapping event right after this for mental health court and the veterans court. So we work with all of that. So now I'm going to go to my fun self because that's a lot of words. My favorite part about my job is my Fridays that I get to go to a detention center every Friday. I go to one in a different county. and Warren County I do every month. So we are in the detention center doing pre-release classes, telling the incarcerated individuals what is available for them when they leave. Typically when they get out, I am the first person they call, and they don't care about time. So, you know, that's fun, but I like to be that. I tell them to call me. That's kind of the thing that we do there. So John Hodges right here, came out of the Barron County Detention Center, and he worked with the Metcalf Adult Education because he's on drug court, and part of his was to get his GED. He accomplished that. As you can see, he graduated. He works for a farming company in Metcalf area, and he's doing fantastic. So we were very proud of him, and I wanted to kind of point that out because we also focus on the education side. This is Christopher Rutt. His story would be a tearjerker if I could tell it, but I'll just go over briefly. He has been in and out of drugs for quite a while, and the mother of his children is still in the system and in drugs. But he decided to change his life when he got out of jail last time, and he went to Kentucky Christian Recovery, did their rehab program inpatient, and then stayed on for their sober living. He, when he got out of their sober living, he came to my targeted orientation class in Butler County. And that is where we sat down with the Career Development Office, Office of Vocational Rehab, myself, and Adult Education, and help people one-on-one so that they can come. We help with resumes, even applications. We do all kinds of stuff there at that event. So he was there. We were able to get his resume, get his ID, get everything he needed to start a job, and he started a job at Country Kitchen. He didn't really want to keep that job. That was just kind of his basic job. We always like to say you get a survivor job, then you get a better job, and then a career. So he then was able to graduate the sober living program and move back in with his mother and get a job at Trader Joe's warehouse. He didn't know that that was going to be his career, but he loves it. So he's still there and doing very well. But the best part of the story is he got visitation with his 3 children for the first time in a year in October. And he's looking to get an apartment on his own and get them back. So he's trying to get full custody of them. So he's a huge success story, and some things like that we hear all the time. So that's kind of what we do and what I do. I love working, and I do work with any Kentuckian, but our emphasis is on the judicially impacted. So did I leave anything out? Oh, this is Brittany Hippler, and she's awesome.
And she won't even stay still. Like, she's just, oh my goodness, she's all over the Commonwealth.
All right, let's wrap things up. So, yeah, just talk about, I want to talk a minute just about serving military veterans. Mike hit it. We have Tony Gramando, Roberta Bradley, won an award again for the service they're providing veterans in South Central Kentucky. They work out of a Kentucky Career Center and just do amazing work. I've talked about, being third year in a row of winning the Department of Labor Hire Vets Medallion. And then where's Sergeant Pagan? Oh, please stand up. So this is Sergeant Angelica Pagan, United States Army, gets out of the Army in February, but is currently doing an internship under a program we rolled out this past year called Your Turn, where we are providing active duty service members in their last 6 months an opportunity to do internships. And so she's happens to be doing one with us. But we just had another service member complete one with Brad, the Barron River Area Development District, as a grant writer. And then we've got 3 or 4 more kind of lined up right after the new year to get started with various employers across the region. But Angelica's with us and has been kind of job shadowing. She's been working with career team, with career development office, moving around with Anna, moving around with Shannon, moving around with Brittany, and just seeing what this whole team does. And we're glad to have her. She's in from Fort Sill, Oklahoma, but is able to do this because she's got family in the Clarksville area, and we basically got her coming over about 3 days a week under this internship. So don't leave here without saying hello to her, and you don't let anybody get away without networking. All right. So let's wrap up. I mean, really, the biggest bullet I didn't put on here is, I mean, you've heard amazing stories from amazing people. I think the thing that I'm most thankful about, you've heard from our staff, we have very passionate staff, and we've had very stable staff. I mean, Matt and career team, most of the career team providers, there's been a lot of continuity and longevity and expertise. The same can be said for our staff. So I'm very thankful for the stability and the expertise. that we've had. And you can see the passion come through on everybody that's spoken today. So I'm very thankful for that. We exceeded the majority of the goals that we set forth at the beginning of the year. We've been very good in compliance. We've been very good on our fiscal procedures. I'm thankful for that. We continue to grow the organization and really, I mean, we emphasize this a little bit throughout, but all of our numbers have went up from the previous year in terms of number of people we served, in terms of either in the Career Center or through getting out of the Career Center and getting out into our communities. We have seen more people and served more people in 2024 than we did in 2023. And so that's a very good news story. And then we also, I mean, and we didn't really talk about it today, it is baked into this slideshow. We put together a regional high school event for the very first time back in May. And we ended up having 8 graduating seniors from 8 high schools across really kind of the northeast part of our region, and a couple of high schools from outside of our region and adjacent counties like Greene County come in and participate. We did it at the Cave City Convention Center, and we had almost 24 employers and several hundred students come in. And so that was a very heavy lift, but it went really well, and we learned a lot from it, and we look forward to doing it again. It really, you know, the Bowling Green Warren County area does a really great program with their SEK launch hiring event for seniors that a lot of our team go out and support, and that really serves Warren County and some of the adjacent counties very well. And this Ready Set Hire was kind of a mirror version of that, but a little bit further out from Warren County, so that we could give opportunity to those high school students. And so that was something we were really proud of. So anyway, it's all in all really proud of the work that was done by this team of teams, because it's not just the Workforce Board, it's the Kentucky Career Center, it's JVSG, it's a career team, and then it's all the partners like Goodwill and Sky CTC and all the other community organizations that come together to help us serve this community. So we're really proud of how this whole year has went. So with that, because we're on a timeline.
Yeah, so you guys might not have said anything since about 2 hours ago. So anybody that's a board member, I want to give you guys the mic first, and then we're going to open it up for guests and anybody else visiting that we have online or in person. So I've got a microphone I can bring around if anybody has anything to add or questions, or if you want to see more data.
Just high compliments to everybody. I don't want to give a big speech for time, but just high compliments to everybody, especially the staff. I mean, your work is very dedicated, but also heartfelt, and it's just really great to see all of it. And I love this time. Who else wants to?
Yes, I want to thank all of our team. Wonderful job, everyone. But I especially want to thank our leadership, because they truly embody what a leader is. Thank you so much for believing in us, supporting us, and always being there to help us through anything that we need. Thank you, John and Brian.
We get invited to a lot of meetings across the state of Kentucky, and this is one of the fun ones that we enjoy coming to. And I just want to thank John and his staff. And as you said, you can see the passion that each one of them works with, but the job that you're doing, you're going to see benefits for many years to come. So thank you so much. It's so exciting, especially around Christmas time, to see this type of collaboration, this type of work going on. It just makes your heart feel good. So on behalf of my colleagues and the Kentucky legislature, thanks for what you do. I can't believe the good works and the numbers of people that you come in contact with on a regular basis, and the help that you're giving those folks. So we're trying to do some of these things. I'm trying to do some things in education with EL students and all of that stuff in Frankfort, and you're doing it here. You're the boots on the ground. You do it every day. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Now we hit you with a lot.
We always do.
We always do. That's right. So we definitely want to thank all of our guests, especially those of you guys that drove from out of town. And we do ask that this try to be an in-person meeting because it is good to just, break bagel bread together and see each other. And we have new board members and yeah, all of that sort of thing. John, did you have anything else as far as over here? Okay, so two quick things. We're going to try to take a picture, I think, here in the back. If anybody can stick around a few moments, and if you can stick around any longer after that, Dr. Duvall does have that presentation ready, and we can hit the play button.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just line up in the back, and you guys are free to mingle as long as you'd like.